Hello, and welcome back to Family Secrets Unveiled. In life, we build our world on the relationships we form. We place our trust in the people we hold dearest, the ones we choose to share our lives with. But what if one of those relationships, the very foundation of that trust, was built on a dark secret? A secret so powerful it could shatter everything you've ever known, so profound it could turn love into a carefully constructed lie? This is the story of Sarah and James. They were the picture of a perfect couple. Their life in suburban New Jersey, in a small white house with a picket fence, was the stuff of dreams. Sarah, a talented architect with a radiant smile and eyes as blue as a summer sky. James, a history teacher, quiet, calm, and with an almost unnerving kindness. They had been married for 15 years filled with love and respect. Or so Sarah believed. Every evening, as James sat in his old armchair, engrossed in a thick history book, Sarah would feel a deep sense of peace. They had navigated life's ups and downs together, built a home, and prepared for the years to come. But that peace was an illusion. And that illusion came crashing down on James's final night. James had been ill for some time. The sickness had ravaged him, his once strong frame now frail and weak. But even as death approached, he held on to that same gentle smile and kind eyes. Sarah stayed by his side, never leaving. She held his hand tightly, feeling the last of his warmth slowly fade. The hospital room was eerily quiet, save for the steady hum of machines and James's soft moans. It was a sacred, painful moment. Sarah was prepared to say goodbye. She had thought about all the beautiful memories they had shared, about their home, their endless conversations, their kisses. She was prepared for the grief, but she was not prepared for what James was about to say. His voice was so weak that Sarah had to lean in close. "Sarah," he whispered, his breath hot and labored, "there's something I have to tell you." Sarah's tears fell. She thought he would tell her he loved her, or tell her to live well. But his next words were a knife thrust directly into her heart. "Do you remember the Michael Harris case?" Sarah's heart stopped. Michael Harris. That name had haunted her for 20 years. Michael was Sarah's best friend, a friend she loved more than a brother. He had been brutally murdered 20 years ago, and the case was never solved. Sarah's life had changed completely since then. She had lived in a cloud of pain and regret. She stared at James, trying to find an explanation. What was he talking about? James gasped, closing his eyes. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry I kept this a secret." The blood in Sarah's veins ran cold. She shook her head, feeling like she was in a terrible nightmare. "James, what are you talking about? What does Michael's case have to do with you?" James opened his eyes, his gaze filled with agony. "I didn't kill Michael," he said, his voice breaking. "But I helped the person who did hide the crime." Sarah recoiled. A sense of horror choked her. Her husband, the kind, gentle man she trusted, was an accomplice in the very crime that had ruined her life? Who? Who did it? She whispered. James squeezed her hand. "I can't say," he said, his voice fading. "I promised." Sarah's heart shattered. "Who, James? Tell me," she screamed. But James was gone. His final breath, a gentle sigh, disappeared into the cold air of the hospital room. James left, taking half the truth with him. A brutal half-truth that changed everything. Sarah looked at her deceased husband. The tears had stopped. All that was left was a cold, hollow emptiness in her heart, filled with unanswered questions. And that horror was just the beginning. After James passed away, Sarah's life became a living nightmare. His deathbed confession replayed in her mind, a cruel puzzle she couldn't solve. Who killed Michael? And why did James cover for them? The house that was once a sanctuary now felt alien. Every object, every photograph brought a new question. Their wedding photo on the nightstand, with James's smile as radiant as the sun, now felt like a sinister secret. She looked at it and wondered, was that smile ever real? Or was it just a mask crafted from lies? The grief for her husband was mixed with rage, with a frantic desperation to find the truth. She began to search through James's things, looking for a clue. In the days following the funeral, She delved into his boxes, his old journals. Hours passed, and she found only mundane things: the love letters they had written to each other, unfinished travel plans, thank you notes from students. She was starting to lose hope. There was nothing unusual. Nothing to suggest a different life, a different man. But then, one late afternoon, while tidying James's small library, she found a history book he loved, the very one he was reading on his last night. She flipped through the pages, and then a small piece of paper fell out. It wasn't a letter or a note, but a photograph. An old, faded photograph. In it were 3 young people laughing together. One was James, younger and thinner, but still him. The second, with curly brown hair and a brilliant smile, was Michael. And the third, a girl with bright blonde hair and large blue eyes, radiant as a star. Sarah had no idea who this girl was. She had never seen this picture before. Sarah's curiosity was ignited. Who is this girl? And why did James hide this picture in the book he was reading for the last time? She searched more, and then found something else, in a small wooden box hidden in James's desk drawer. It was an old diary. The diary was not James's. The handwriting was delicate and feminine. The scent of old paper and fading ink made her heart pound. And the first line shocked her. He said he would help me. He said he would help me hide this secret. No one must know. He promised. There was no name, no date, just a sense of fear and a promise. Everything began to fit. The diary's author was a woman who had committed a crime, and James had helped her. Was it the girl in the photograph? A wave of anger washed over Sarah. James wasn't just an accomplice. He was a protector of a crime. She read on, and the words began to paint a darker picture. The diary described a fateful night, an argument, and then a push. It wasn't a planned murder, but a fatal accident. The argument wasn't between the girl and Michael, but between Michael and another man. Who is that man? The truth was becoming more and more complicated. Sarah felt like she was walking on a minefield. James was not an accomplice. He had witnessed a murder, and he had chosen to conceal it. Why? She looked at the old photo. The blonde girl. Those eyes. There was a strange familiarity. Where had she seen those eyes before? The feeling of betrayal surged within her, not just because James had kept a secret, but because he had protected the person who had taken her best friend's life. A relationship she had trusted, a marriage she had cherished, was built on a foundation of lies. And she knew this was only the beginning of the truth. The diary ended with a single line: he promised. Forever. Forever, until James was no longer able to keep that promise. Every word in that diary was a knife piercing Sarah's heart. The book didn't reveal the killer's name, but it painted a picture of that night's events: a party, an argument, and a fatal accident. The author, who Sarah was now almost certain was the blonde girl from the photo, had a complicated relationship with Michael and seemingly with James as well. She described her fear, her desperation, and then her relief when James agreed to help. He had helped her destroy evidence, set up a fake scene, and keep silent. But what was the motive? Why would James be willing to sacrifice his conscience and the truth to protect another woman? Sarah began a frantic search. She looked through James's college records, searching for any name that might match the girl in the photo. Her efforts seemed hopeless until she found an old box of documents filled with letters and papers related to another case, a case she had never known about. The disappearance of a woman named Lisa Carter, which occurred at the same time as Michael's death. The police had assumed she ran away. But James's handwritten notes in this file told a different story. He had followed this case obsessively. And those notes led her to a name: Jessica Miller. Jessica Miller. The name was not unfamiliar. It lingered in Sarah's mind, a name she knew but couldn't place. Where had she met Jessica? Then she remembered. Jessica Miller was the maiden name of Catherine, her best friend from college, the one who had helped her get through the pain of losing Michael. Catherine. Sarah's best friend. A woman with radiant blonde hair and blue eyes. She had a small scar on her wrist that she always hid, saying it was a childhood injury. But the diary described a similar scar, one caused by a piece of broken glass the night Michael died. Everything came crashing down. Catherine, her closest friend, the person she had trusted and loved like a sister, was the one who killed Michael. And James, her husband, had protected her. A horrifying web of deceit, built on trust and love. The climax wasn't a physical confrontation or a chase, but a brutal psychological showdown. Sarah invited Catherine to her house, saying she wanted to reminisce. Catherine arrived, with her usual radiant smile and warm eyes. But those eyes now, to Sarah, were just a veil. The conversation started awkwardly. They talked about their lives, about James. Then Sarah pulled out the old photograph. "Catherine, do you remember this photo?" In that instant, Catherine's smile vanished. Her eyes flashed with panic, but it was quickly hidden. "Oh, that old picture," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought it was lost." Sarah said nothing. She placed the diary on the table. "I found this too." James hid it. "Would you like to see?" Catherine recoiled. Her face was ashen. The fear had overtaken her composure. "Sarah, it's not what you think," she said, her voice shaking. "It was an accident." And that's when everything broke. Catherine confessed everything, the scuffle, Michael's death, and how James had helped her cover it up. The reason? Michael had found out about a secret relationship between Catherine and James, a relationship that had occurred before Sarah and James even met. Michael threatened to tell Sarah everything, and in a fit of rage, Catherine pushed him. James had arrived right after. He saw it all. He had to choose between exposing a friend he once loved or hiding the truth to protect her and his own secret. He chose to hide it. He had loved Sarah, but he was also trapped by a promise to the past. The revelation was unbearable. Sarah not only lost her best friend, but also the image of her perfect husband. Everything she had believed in was a lie. After Catherine's confession, a terrible silence filled the room. Sarah no longer felt anger, only emptiness, a profound sorrow. She looked at the woman she once called sister, now just a stranger with a betrayer's face. She had lived a life of lies, a life built on the pain of others. And her husband, the man she thought she knew, was a part of that cruel charade. Sarah didn't call the police. Not because she forgave, but because she had no strength left. Exposing the truth wouldn't bring Michael back. It wouldn't change the past. Instead, it would destroy more lives. Catherine, her face drenched in tears, begged for forgiveness, but Sarah couldn't say a word. She just got up, walked to the door, and said, "Leave, Catherine, and never come back." Catherine left in silence, leaving a cold void in Sarah's life. And so Sarah was left alone to face the wreckage of her life. She couldn't return to her job. The trauma of Michael's death and the betrayal of James and Catherine was too great. She decided to sell the house. That small white house with the picket fence, a symbol of a dream, was now a prison of painful memories. She moved to another place, a distant city, where no one knew about Sarah and James, about Michael and Catherine. She never forgave James. But as time passed, her anger slowly turned into a form of understanding. He had lived in torment for 20 years, trapped between his conscience and a foolish promise. His deathbed confession wasn't an act of cowardice, but a desperate, belated attempt at redemption. He couldn't live with this secret anymore. He wanted her to know the truth, even though he knew it would destroy her. And perhaps that was the only way he could atone. The end of this story is not a happy one. It's not a triumph. It's a story of loss, of secrets that haunt and destroy lives. Sarah lost everything she believed in, her best friend, her husband, and her faith in love. But she gained the truth. Sometimes, the truth isn't a gift. It's a burden, a wound that never truly heals. And this story offers a profound message. Behind the perfect facades, everyone carries secrets. We never truly know a person. The people we love most can also hide the darkest things. And sometimes, discovering the truth can be far more painful than living in a sweet lie. Before we go, if this story made you think, if it resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss another mysterious story on Family Secrets Unveiled. Until next time.